What's up, everyone? In this video, we're going to talk about the major news you need to know about going into the stock market for this week. We also have some awesome setups brewing behind the scenes. And towards the end of today's video, we have a $1.26 million trade that you won't want to miss. Yes, $1.26 million. So make sure to stick with us all the way to the end. But Tom, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, Mike, and on Friday, the SPY had a pretty bad move to the downside early on, but it did end up trading pretty flat up towards close. It honestly stayed between the range all day long between like 405.50 and a high up around 408. It was pretty much just between that range all day on Friday. So heading into Monday, I'm really going to watch this upper resistance level around 408 to 408.50. If we can start to break that, it would make for a pretty good move up. But I'm honestly a little bit worried that we might reject and start to fall back down this week. I just did not like that price action Friday. I felt like it was just pretty hard to get back up. So hopefully we get some good news coming in here. And talking about Friday, looking at the heat map, Mike, I noticed that most sectors didn't really do too much, but the energy sector was popping off. Pretty much like all the oil plays were up, whether it was ZOM, CVX, Oxy, COP. Even if we go to something like CCJ, for example, it had a very good week last week. So I just wanted to point that out, that those stocks did pretty well. But overall, that heat map was pretty mixed Friday.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, you have your traditional powerhouse companies like Apple or Microsoft and Google, and you see that, just like you said, Tom, they didn't do anything. But then you look across the heat map a little bit deeper, and you see some stocks, like let's say Nvidia, down 4.8% on Friday. And then when you look to Tesla, it gets pretty nasty as well. They were down around 5% or so, So those are some decent drops, and some of these big powerhouse tech stocks are still up a ton year to date. So it looks like we are seeing definitely some profit taking.
Yeah, we are. And the big powerhouse Tesla actually fell under $200 on Friday, guys. That is a huge, huge level for Tesla there. I couldn't believe that we rocketed below 200 with such velocity last week, and now we're still falling down. I'm going to really watch that 193 support on Tesla coming up this week. And Mike, talking about stocks going insane, we are going to have some crazy earnings coming up. So looking at the calendar here for the week, I think this is going to be the biggest thing. So we do have some CPI data, so stick around, guys. We will be talking about that. But I think that these earnings will end up playing a huge role as well in the stock market. So Monday, we actually have Palantir reporting after close along with Solar Edge. I feel like people like those two companies quite a bit. And then Tuesday, we have Coca-Cola before open, Airbnb after close with Upstart. Wednesday, we have Shopify, Roku, Cisco. Man, Mike, what's your favorite one of the week this week? I mean, there's so many, even DraftKings there on Thursday.
Tom, that was a stupid question. You already know that one. I'll give you a hint. It's on Thursday after close. None other than DraftKings. So that's definitely my favorite of the week. But, what's interesting is we don't have, companies like Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and Tesla reporting this week, but we do have quite a lot of growth stocks that honestly can move in crazier ways than some of these, bigger, more established companies. So like Shopify, DraftKings, Palantir, stocks like that can definitely get pretty crazy at times.
Yeah, I know Palantir has been one of my favorites lately. They've actually been holding pretty well up above the $7 support and up above $6 since they hit that low down there. And there's a lot of these companies, even like Roblox is going to be reporting. So watch out. These are some pretty big growth stocks. And like you said, they could have some insane moves. And we've been seeing a lot of these stocks lately, like some of these growth stocks, when they do well, have some pretty good gaps to the upside. Now, I'm not saying like Meta is a growth stock, for example, but I just want to show that there, because look at that big gap to the upside. Like if some of these earnings are positive, we can see some pretty big moves, especially given how low these companies are right now. I think that whenever we go look at the charts, for example, like with Roblox and Palantir and other stocks like that, them being so close to lows just gives me more confidence that they could pop more. Now, obviously, they're around lows because they've been a little bit weak lately, but if the earnings surprise people, it should get a nice jump.
Without a doubt. And of course, the same thing can happen to the downside. Like one stock that really caught my attention last week was Lyft, as they just got clobbered on earnings. Like it sold off in a major, major way. There was so much selling pressure with Lyft on Friday, especially as it closed down over 36% in a day.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that bad, Mike. 36%. Man, I know most of that move came in after hours the day before, but sheesh, yeah, what a close to the downside there. Yeah, 36.44%. And the average move for them to the downside is only 3.8%. So almost like 10x there. That's pretty crazy, Mike. And yeah, it's just you got to be careful out there with earnings, guys. It's always a big gamble in my opinion. But like we always say, maybe playing a run up into earnings or even better, playing an after earnings move can end up being pretty good. Usually you'll get a couple days of continuation if it's a pretty good thing, but go ahead and screenshot this, guys, if you guys are interested in, keeping a picture of this throughout the week.
All right, Tom. So just a couple minutes ago, you talked about a big event on Tuesday. What's going on and what do we need to know?
So guys, be ready for the CPI event this week. So it's going to be a huge event, and the SPY has been hovering right around 400. And I have a feeling that we might start to get a bigger move below, or maybe we'll start to bounce around 400 and move up with this event. But be ready on Tuesday morning, 1 hour before the market opens. This inflation reading is going to be huge. And the last reading came in at 6.5%. And they're actually looking at it to still drop. But we've been seeing some pretty big drops lately. Like a couple readings ago, we were at 7.1%. Then we fell down to 6.5. It looks like this time they're only looking for us to fall from 6.5 down to 6.3 or down to 6.2. So I'm really curious, Mike, how much we're going to go down. But it looks like they're expecting inflation to fall down a little bit. So hopefully it keeps falling at a good pace. If it starts to fall at a slower pace, or for example, if inflation actually goes up, we could see a big, I guess, move in the market, Mike, to the downside possibly. There's a big possibility that this could cause a huge move up or down. And, I know a lot of people always like to say things like, well, obviously it's going to move one way or the other, but I'm just giving some hypotheticals here.
Sure, for sure. So like the main thing is like when you have data as important as inflation data, that brings a ton of extra volatility into the market. And historically, like these inflation reports have the power to just set a new trend in the market. And out of all of the data points that we could have related to the economy right now and just the stock market overall, I would very strongly say that inflation data is the most important data to look at, not only right now, but even going out over like the next, honestly, just the rest of the year.
Yeah, it really is, because that's obviously what the Feds look at the most. Powell talks about it every single time he speaks, guys. So it's going to be a very important thing this week. I'm really hoping to see this continue to come down, because there's been a lot of issues lately with, for example, like the price of eggs. And we've even seen just the price of everything go up, whether it's like ketchup or anything, and then there's a lot of companies that deal with this stuff like Kraft Heinz and Clorox, and even companies like Walmart that sell some of these products, for example, could maybe start to get influenced by some of these prices with some of, like, for example, like we said, the eggs. And, we've been seeing stuff all across the board all year long go up. Like at some points, meat was flying up and then eggs. So, it's crazy. I know oil's been going up a little bit more over the past couple weeks as well, getting, at least last week, had a pretty nice little uptrend there. So it seems like inflation is just still bad, Mike. And, that reading could still make us move in a very, very crazy way. But what I will say is that looking at like a daily chart of the SPY, I am a little happy that we're still breaking out above that trend line here, but I'm a little bit worried that this reading could honestly like kind of discount that trend line. We could obviously take a pretty big drop if that reading comes in negative.
All I'm going to say is buckle your seatbelts, guys. Tuesday, 1 hour before open, is going to be very influential on the market. It can be a great move to the upside. It can be a great move to the downside. But honestly, I don't really see the need to speculate about what the data might come in at and how the market might react to it. I think the best move overall is just wait until the data comes in, and then, on Tuesday, once the market opens, you can just ride that momentum in whichever direction it's in, So that's how I'll probably play it. But, either way, it'll be quite the exciting day on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely will. I'm hoping that we can hold 400 and start to go back up there. But Mike, there was actually some really big news last week that is honestly scaring a lot of China stock investors right now. And I'll be honest, I don't blame any of the investors for getting spooked, because there's been a ton of news lately about weather balloons. So about a week ago, we had news of a Chinese weather balloon coming across the US, and it crossed across pretty much the whole entire country. And we finally shot it down after it went over the coast of the Carolinas. So we ended up shooting it down. Well, we actually had another weather balloon come in on Friday, and we shot it down in Alaska. And then on Saturday, we actually shot another one down over Canada. So I don't know what's going on here, Mike, with China and these balloons. I don't know if they're trying to stir up the news. I don't know if they're pissed with us doing stuff with Russia, or, with us giving things to Ukraine because of Russia, or what's going on. But nonetheless, China is definitely stirring things up right now. And, it does look like that the one yesterday over Canada hasn't necessarily been identified yet, but they're thinking it's definitely a Chinese spy balloon. And the one on Friday, they're saying was a Chinese spy balloon. So, Mike, it seems pretty scary. I don't know what's going on here, but I am very worried about these China stocks. And, looking at BABA, there's like a key support around like 103, and we're also very close to 100. And I don't know. I'm just getting very worried that we're going to start selling back off to the downside. And I saw Biden last week actually talk about like banning investments in some Chinese companies. Now, they didn't actually name any yet, but they did kind of speculate on that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Whenever tensions rise between the US and China, it can definitely not only influence China stocks, but also some US stocks. So very interesting either way. Of course, it's not good to see news like this, especially if you are holding some of these China stocks. But, talking more about like some of these actual China stock opportunities, there's a bunch of them out there. Like some of the bigger ones are like Alibaba, which is BABA. You have Baidu, which is BIDU. You have JD, which is JD.com. Or you could just, make your life easy. Instead of trading individual stocks, you might just trade like a China stock ETF like KWEB, or even FXI, which is basically just like a bunch of China stocks all in one.
Yeah, exactly. And talk about FXI, we actually had a big money play on them a long time ago. I bet they actually close out of that. So I'll take that off there. But yeah, a lot of these China stocks have been really moving up a lot lately. And I will say, even just talking about stocks being overextended in the short term, like let's look at from like BABA's high to low here, how much they're really up. So their low was all the way down here around like $58. To the high, they were up over 108%. So I could see a pullback anyways. And now we have this news coming in. It's just like, man, I could really see it happening. I'll be honest, I actually bought a couple like puts on Friday just as like a gamble when this news came out, because I said, you know what, it's enough. I think it's time to short some of these with all this bad news. But watch it gap up on Monday 10%, as they say, oh, it wasn't China or something. But, I think it's worth the gamble with all the news coming out.
Yep, so we will see. But Tom, let's go back to the SPY just for a second. I know you gave us some levels on SPY in the beginning of the video, but what are some other key levels, to watch out for going into the week?
Yeah, so I talked a little bit at the beginning about the big resistance I was watching this week, which is like right around 408 to 408.50. There's been a lot of hits there. Once we fell below there Friday, it was a pretty bad sell-off, at least in pre-market there. So I'm really going to be watching us for a possible hit off 408.50, and then for a possible move back to the downside. But as far as a big support, we definitely need to watch that intraday level right around 405 to 405.50. There was a lot of intraday wicks there on Friday, especially on the 5-minute chart. Even there was a whole lot, not even on like the 1 minute where you'd see a ton, but even on the 5-minute, there was a few extensions down there. So I'm going to be watching 405.50 and then 408. If we end up moving up above 408, 410 and 411 should be pretty big resistances. That was a huge level from last week. And if we break that, possibly watch 414 up there at the top. But to the downside, if we start breaking below like 405, like I said, I'm definitely going to be watching 402 to the downside, and then 400. And I have a bad feeling, Mike, that we're going to probably retest 400 at some point this week, whether we do it on Monday and then we start to move up into the CPI event or not, or whether we maybe have a bad CPI event and then bounce off 400 there. I don't know, but I feel like we'll get pretty close to 400 at some point.
All right, sounds good. So let's get into some solid setups for the week. One stock I'm watching very closely is WEAT. So this is basically a wheat ETF. From its highs, it's down around 45% from a year ago, which is quite the move for, like an asset like wheat. But anyways, basically right now they're starting to have some pretty solid price action. In the short term, they're popping up when a lot of other stocks and assets are, falling off or relatively flat. Right now, wheat is right around that $8 mark, and I can see it testing anywhere from $8.50, like $8.80 in the short term, assuming this momentum lasts.
Yeah, I actually really like this one. That's some good momentum, especially compared to market. So I like this, and we actually saw a lot of commodity plays go up on Friday, whether it was CCJ with uranium or ZOM with the oil plays or wheat here. It was pretty nice to see all of those going up. So I like wheat. I'll definitely keep it on the radar, Mike. I know a lot of people have also been talking about it quite a bit, but I'm going to still get pretty negative here. I'm going to go back into NVIDIA, and I will say, Mike, I have to give you credit last week here. You called this out perfectly in last week's video on Thursday. You were looking for a move, I think, under 220 with NVIDIA, and we saw an amazing breakdown there on Friday, and then we started flying all the way down to like the 210 support. So that was an amazing move, and I'm still going to be watching for another move down. So now that we fell down to 210, I would say if we break under like 208.30, I think that we could see a bigger sell-off to the downside. There is a pretty big support down there around like 208 to 208.30, so just watch that come this week. But what a move last week, Mike, and I think that this can continue a little bit. Looking at the daily, it looks like it's starting to finally get some good momentum down.
All right, good stuff. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is BMBL. So Bumble, basically this stock has been tanking down over like the past week or so. And it's had like an okay move, like over like, I guess you could say since the start of 2023, but nothing like insane. But basically, I'm looking for this one to retest that $20 support and then the $17.50 support. Right now, the stock's right around like $24.30. So it definitely has some room down, and they have earnings coming up as well. But we'll see what happens with it. But it's definitely close on my watch list to the downside.
Yeah, like what's up with this stock? It's really selling off here, especially the past 2 days. So I'll watch it too. It definitely seems like it might start to try to come back down and retest some of those bigger supports. That's for sure. And I know I talked about this one a little bit last week, Mike, and it was one of our big money plays on KBH. And I'm still going to be watching this one come this week. So they actually entered this play on February 8th of 2023, just last week. Like I said, the 37 strike puts for March 17th of this year, $2.08 million was put into this play. A pretty good play though, Mike. I mean, the stock's already going down for them, and I'm just going to watch it for another continuation down this week. I don't think it's going to be something that just flies down with a ton of momentum, but I will be watching it for just almost like a swing play to the downside. You might get a couple days of green come in here, but I'm going to follow that smart money.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Netflix to the downside.
NFLX, what a sell-off there. I can't even believe that's selling off that bad. Go ahead and make them break down below 344, Mike. That is actually a huge support from last week, I'm noticing. And yeah, I will say if we break 344, we'll probably have a pretty bad sell-off.
All right, with the next one, we have Amazon also to the downside.
AMZN also around support. I'm glad that they broke 100 last week. That even gives me more confidence, but go ahead and make them break down below 96 even.
All right, and then with the last one, we have GLD, but we need both directions.
I'm hoping GLD can come back a little bit this week. Go ahead and make them break back above 173.60 to the upside. To the downside, make GLD break below 173.20 on Monday.
All right, so we're watching GLD for potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above that upper level. But we also have that downside level as well. So if it breaks below that, we are looking at it for a potential day trade to the downside. And we can say the same exact thing for Amazon and Netflix. So keep these stocks on your radar for a momentum play for tomorrow. But Tom, it's now time for my favorite part of the video, and that's the big money trade of the day. On Friday, we had $1.26 million go into the DB 12 strike put options that expire on April 21st of 2023. DB is a bank stock, Deutsche Bank. A lot of bank stocks have been struggling a little bit, especially last week, as we saw a ton of selling pressure with Credit Suisse, especially with ticker symbol CS. So basically what's going on right now is, we're definitely having overall bearish momentum in the short term with some of these bank stocks. And not only like that affects the whole industry, whether you're looking at Deutsche Bank, whether you're looking at Bank of America, JP Morgan, you name it, they're all affected in at least a little bit of a way. Anyways, we have $1.26 million casually going into these Deutsche Bank 12 strike puts that expire, in a couple months. So overall, this is a bearish play for the people who don't trade options. Basically, this is a situation where the lower DB goes, the more millions that this trader will make. So Tom, I'll be honest with you, I really like the setup, and I think it has a lot of potential.
I do too, especially with the market starting to sell off a little bit here, and especially with just how overextended DB has been year to date. Well, even year to date, but since October and November, the stock's up near 100%. So, man, yeah, that's an insane jump. And I think that we could also see a bit of a sell back off here. But I really like this play. 1.2 million put into these 12 strike puts. I like the strike. I like the amount of money. I like the time they have. It's not like they're getting too close of an expiration, but they're getting one to where they can maybe let this run down for a couple weeks, maybe into March or something like that. So I like it a lot, Mike. I'll tell you, I'm definitely going to be eyeing up these banks this week. And who knows if these inflation numbers end up making the market go a little bit crazy, some of these puts could end up exploding. So keep it on the radar. It should be a huge one this week, especially with that inflation reading.
There we go. Yeah, it'll be an exciting week. And if you guys are looking to capitalize off of this short-term volatility, definitely check out the first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bots have been crushing it. So if you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check this out. On Friday, our sniper bot crushed it with its Tesla put play that popped for 46.7%. It also crushed it with the DOCN put play, which popped for 38.4%. It also crushed it with the NVIDIA put play that popped for 51.3%. And there was also an NVIDIA put play with our hybrid bot that popped for over 71%. So basically, if you want to join our program, you will get access to our bots that call out options day trades every single day. They've been on fire. Of course, they don't win every single time. No software, no strategy will win every single time. And if anyone ever tells you that, they're lying. But our bots do a damn good job, and they've been crushing this volatility lately. So if you want to get access to these bots and also get access to the big money trades like we have with Deutsche Bank every single day, on the exact day the trade is made and before the market closes, that's also included in the program. So definitely check it out. You can cancel it anytime, and there is a coupon of $41 off your first month. So again, if you want to try it out, it's that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, going into this week, do you have any final thoughts you want to talk about?
Yeah, I still just want to talk about one final thing just so nobody forgets about it. If you've been watching us over the past week or so, you better not have forgotten about this ticker, but don't forget about UVXY. Don't sleep on it, guys. I feel like the VIX can start to go up a little bit more here. I know I've been talking about it in this trend line, or off of the trend line, I should say, for a little while now as well. This is one of the more convincing trend lines I've seen on a daily chart. So I will definitely be watching UVXY for a possible move up, especially if that inflation reading isn't as good as the market's hoping for. So just watch UVXY. I feel like with all the volatility, we might see a bit of a pop back up. And I will say it is pretty overextended in the short term, but keep in mind, guys, UVXY is leveraged. I only like it for trading volatility in the short term. I would never hold this because, as you can see, over the long term, it just decays, and then reverse splits and decays some more.
Yep. All right. Well, we're excited for the week. As you guys can tell, it should be a event-filled week, and there should be a lot of volatility in both directions. So good stuff. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos more often. And like I said, if you're into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bots are awesome. Besides that, let's have an amazing week.